What if I told you that there are secrets hidden in the Vatican that could change everything we know about faith? Could it be that the truth has always been before our eyes, but we were taught not to see it? Many believe that within the Church's secret archives are documents that can reveal hidden mysteries about God, prayer, and the true essence of Christianity. But why was this information never shared with the faithful? What does the Church fear we will know? Prayer has always been our most powerful connection to the divine. Since ancient times, prophets prayed for direction. Jesus taught us to pray to strengthen our faith, and the apostles continued this practice to guide the early Christians. But what if there were sacred teachings that have been hidden throughout history? Is there lost knowledge that could transform our relationship with God? The Bible tells us that you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. John 8:32. But how can we reach this truth if part of it has been taken from our reach? There are gospels that never reached the public, sacred texts that were erased, and divine messages that may have been distorted over time. If prayer is a way of achieving heavenly wisdom, why don't they teach us everything that has been revealed about it? Imagine for a moment that you have access to the Vatican's best-kept secrets. What would you ask? Would you like to know why certain books were removed from the Bible? Or perhaps find out what religious leaders really know about end-times prophecies? These questions are just the beginning of a journey that can open your mind to something much bigger. Now, think about it. If there is something hidden, it means there is something too powerful to be revealed. And when it comes to the Word of God, prayer, and the true essence of faith, shouldn't we have access to it all? After all, shouldn't true spirituality be built on transparency and knowledge? Let's explore together what could be behind these secrets and understand how it can impact our faith. If there is anything we learn from faith, it is that prayer has immeasurable power. It is through it that we connect with God, seek answers, and find peace in the midst of uncertainty. And if there is anything that can be hidden from men, nothing can ever be hidden from the Lord. Therefore, before we continue unraveling these mysteries, I want to invite you to something very special. Leave your prayer request in the comments. No matter what your need is, whether it's a healing, an answer, or just peace for your heart, we will be praying for you. The Bible teaches us that where two or more are gathered together in my name, there I am among them. Matthew 18:20. And here, in this community, we are gathered for one purpose, to seek the truth and strengthen our faith. So write in the comments, because together we can intercede for each other. Your prayer can be the answer someone needs, and your faith can be strengthened when you realize that you are not alone on this journey. The Vatican has always been one of the most enigmatic places in the world, a center of spiritual and political power that influences billions of people. More than just the headquarters of the Catholic Church, it is a true empire that has spanned centuries, survived wars, overthrown kings, and shaped the history of humanity. But behind the beautiful cathedrals, sacred vestments, and religious ceremonies, there is something that few people really know. Buried secrets, hidden documents, and knowledge that could forever transform our understanding of faith and the spiritual world. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. Because if there is a place where mysteries are kept under lock and key, that place is the Vatican's secret library. Have you heard of her? A huge archive with more than 85 kilometers of shelves containing ancient manuscripts, letters, historical records, and texts that for some reason cannot be accessed by the public. And then the question remains, what is in these documents that the Church decided to hide? Why was some information never revealed? If God's word should be shared with everyone, why are records locked away under strict secrecy? The very existence of this library already raises countless doubts. Officially, it was created to preserve the history of the Church, the records of the popes, and theological documents. But is this the whole truth? Many researchers believe that they are stored there, information that could completely change the way we understand Christianity. Reports point to the presence of texts apocrypha, gospels that were removed from the Bible, and even writings that speak of spiritual knowledge that did not reach the public. And that's not all. In 1612, the Vatican determined that this library should be confidential, allowing access only to an extremely select number of scholars and members of the Church. But even those who managed to get in there faced difficulties. search for a document, you must ask permission in advance and specify exactly which manuscript you want to consult. But how can someone request access to a document if they don't even know it exists? Among the most mysterious files that are supposedly hidden in this library, some stand out. Rumor has it that inside there are secret letters exchanged between religious leaders and rulers throughout history, documents detailing appearances of spiritual beings, and even prophecies about the future of humanity. Some theorists claim that one of the Vatican's best-kept secrets may be related to the true identity of Jesus Christ. Are there texts that talk about aspects of Christ's life that have never been revealed? Another point that arouses curiosity is the Gospels that were excluded from the Bible. Have you ever heard of the Gospel of Judas? This manuscript, discovered in 1978 and authenticated by experts, describes a completely different version of the story of the apostle who became known for betraying Jesus. According to this text, Judas was not a traitor, but rather a disciple who followed a plan established by Christ himself. Now imagine how many other similar documents could be hidden in the Vatican, far from public view. What if I told you that there are also records of church leaders meeting mysterious figures? Some researchers believe that in the secret archives there is evidence that the Vatican has always known much more than it reveals about supernatural phenomena and even about the existence of celestial beings that do not fit into the traditional narrative of the Christian faith. Could these accounts indicate something greater, something that would forever change our understanding of the universe and man's role in divine creation? And if all this wasn't enough to arouse your curiosity, there's something even more unsettling. There are rumors that within this library, there are records about ancient religions and sacred rituals that have been erased from history. Could this knowledge have taught us something about the true power of prayer and spiritual connection? Are there practices and teachings that have been removed from the reach of humanity because they would give people a greater understanding of the divine? What's really scary about this is that if there was nothing to hide, why are these documents still under seal? If faith must be based on truth, why are some parts of the story carefully kept from the public? Do we only have access to a limited version of spiritual knowledge? These are uncomfortable questions, but they need to be asked. And now, I want to know your opinion. Do you believe there are secrets kept inside the Vatican's secret library that could change our view of God and spirituality? If you could open any document locked inside, which would you choose? Comment below with the phrase, "I want to know the truth," to show that we are together in this search for knowledge. The Bible we know today has undergone many transformations over the centuries. Not all texts that spoke about faith, God, and the life of Jesus were included in the Holy Scriptures. Some writings were deleted, others were considered heretical, and many simply disappeared without a trace. But why did this happen? Who decided which books would be accepted and which should be forgotten? And most importantly, could it be that in these forbidden texts there were revelations that could change everything we know about Christianity? The fact is that many manuscripts considered sacred have been removed from the Bible throughout history. Some of them were widely read by early Christians, but over time they were considered dangerous or incompatible with official church doctrine. These texts became known as apocryphal gospels, gospels that talked about Jesus, his life, and his teachings, but which were left out of the scriptures that most people know today. And the burning question is, why? One of the most intriguing examples is the Gospel of Judas, a manuscript that remained hidden for centuries and was only recently discovered. This gospel presents a completely different view of the figure of Judas Iscariot, the apostle who was marked in history as the betrayer of Jesus. But what if this betrayal had never happened in the way it was recorded in the canonical Gospels? What if Judas, contrary to what we have always been taught, was not a villain, but rather a disciple who was fulfilling a divine plan? According to this Gospel, Jesus would have entrusted Judas with a fundamental role in his mission. He would not have betrayed him, but rather followed a direct order from the Master himself. If this is true, it means that the entire narrative surrounding the crucifixion and the events leading up to Jesus' death may have been told differently than what actually happened. But if this text existed, why was it banned? What was the risk of allowing people to have access to this version of events? Another extremely controversial book that was excluded from the Bible is the Book of Enoch. This manuscript is one of the oldest ever recorded and brings surprising revelations about angels, demons, and the origin of evil in the world. He talks in detail about the fallen angels, celestial beings who would have descended to earth and taught secrets forbidden to humans. The book describes how these angels came to live among men, had children with mortal women, and created a hybrid race called the Nephilim, giant beings that, according to some theories, could have been the cause of the Great Flood reported in the Bible. But why was this book removed from the scriptures? The official explanation is that he was not considered inspired by God, but there are those who believe that his removal was on purpose, as it could reveal secrets about the spiritual world that should not become known to the public. If the Book of Enoch describes such important events and is part of the history of faith, why has the Church decided to ignore it? Why do some religious leaders consider it dangerous for believers to have access to this information? In addition to these, there are many other Gospels that have been deleted over time. The Gospel of Thomas, for example, presents a completely different view of Jesus' teachings, emphasizing a more direct connection between man and God, without the need for a religious institution as an intermediary. Could this be the true fear of the Church, that people would discover that they could find God without depending on spiritual leaders or the structure of the Church itself? And this leads us to an even bigger question. Are there more manuscripts hidden in the Vatican's secret library? What would happen if these documents came to light and revealed information that challenged centuries of established doctrine? Is there an active effort to prevent the public from learning about these writings? After all, knowledge is power, and those who control information also control how people see the truth. It's impossible not to wonder what else could be hidden. How many secrets are still locked inside the Vatican archives? What if these forbidden texts contain answers to mysteries that have remained unexplained for centuries? If Jesus really left teachings that have been erased from history, shouldn't we have the right to know them? Now I want to know your opinion. Do you believe these texts were deleted because they were too dangerous for the Church? Or do you think there is something even bigger hidden behind the scenes in the history of Christianity? Comment below with the phrase, "I want to know the hidden truth," to show that we are together in this search for knowledge. And remember, there is still much more to be revealed. What we're going to talk about next may be even more surprising. So leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next revelations. Now, let's continue this journey and discover what else is hidden in the Vatican's secrets. The Vatican's secret library is one of the most inaccessible and protected places in the world. Officially, it exists to store historical church documents, papal correspondence, administrative records, and ancient manuscripts. But the truth is that its contents remain a great mystery. With more than 85 kilometers of underground shelves, this library houses texts that have never been released to the public, banned books, unknown theological treatises, and possibly secrets that could completely rewrite the history of Christianity. And if there's one thing we know, it's that the greater the effort to hide information, the more important it must be. Only an extremely select number of people can access this collection. It is not enough to be a historian, a theologian, or a religious person. To enter, you must go through a rigorous authorization process, and even then, the rules are clear. You must know exactly which document you want to consult, specifying the title, author, and exact location. But how can someone request access to a text if they don't even know it exists? This detail in itself already indicates that there are contents within this library that the Church never intends to make public. If there is nothing to hide, why impose so many barriers? And that brings us to something even more disturbing. There are reports of people who tried to access certain confidential documents and mysteriously disappeared or were silenced. Some historians claim that independent researchers who ventured to investigate the Vatican archives simply disappeared without a trace. Other times, those who obtained important information about banned texts were discredited, had their careers destroyed, or died suspiciously. One of the most intriguing cases involves Jesuit priest José Morelli, a scholar in the Vatican archives, who is rumored to have discovered a manuscript that could completely change the Church's view of Jesus Christ. Shortly after beginning his research, Morelli was removed from his duties without explanation. He disappeared from public life and was never seen again. raising suspicions that he had been silenced. Another famous case is that of a group of researchers who, in the mid-20th century, tried to expose documents that supposedly spoke about the early years of Christianity and that contradicted the official narrative of the church. They claimed that they had found records that indicated that Jesus had traveled to other regions, possibly even to the East, and that his story had been altered to fit established doctrine centuries later. However, before they could publicize their findings, their studies were confiscated and they mysteriously disappeared. Whether these reports are real or just rumors, we will never know for sure. But what is undeniable is that anyone who tries to question or reveal hidden information about the church always faces obstacles, persecution, and even threats. What is so well guarded that it cannot be known to the public? What kind of secret can be so dangerous as to justify the disappearance of scholars, religious people, and researchers over the years? Among the most confidential documents that are supposedly stored in the Vatican's secret library, there are those that could bring revelations about apocryphal books, forbidden manuscripts, hidden messages from early Christians, and even yet-to-be-revealed prophecies about the end times. Some claim that the Church hides ancient writings that speak of advanced technologies in the past, of divine beings who interacted with humanity differently than we were taught, and of spiritual knowledge that was purposefully omitted. Another mystery surrounding this library is the presence of secret documents about the apparitions of Mary and other spiritual manifestations that have never been disclosed. There are reports that within the Vatican archives, there are records of supernatural events that were investigated by the Church itself, but which, for some reason, never became known to the public. What could be so shocking about these reports to justify their secrecy? And if there is one secret that the Church seems to do its best to keep away from the eyes of the world, it is any information related to prophecies about the future of humanity. Many believe that inside the secret library, there are documents that tell about the fate of civilization, about events that are yet to happen, and about revelations that could shake the faith of millions of people. The third secret of Fatima, for example, is one of the best-known cases. The official version released by the Vatican never fully convinced the faithful, and there are those who believe that the true content of this prophecy is still under lock and key, as it would reveal something so catastrophic that the Church prefers to remain silent. But why hide this knowledge? Why does the Church, which claims to be the guardian of faith and truth, keep so much information inaccessible? Was it to protect the faithful from something they could not understand? Or is there something much bigger behind this? Something that, if it came to light, could forever change the way we see religion and the role of the Church in the world? What makes us think the most is that, if these documents weren't so important, there wouldn't be a need for so much secrecy. The fact that there are such strict rules to prevent access to these files only reinforces the idea that there is something there that cannot be revealed, something that, if it came to light, could change the course of history. Now, I want to know your opinion. Do you believe there are secrets hidden in the Vatican's secret library that could change the history of humanity? What do you think the Church fears people finding out? Comment below with the phrase, "The truth must be revealed," to show that we are together in this search for knowledge. And remember, there is still much more to be discovered. Within the Vatican's best-kept secrets, there is a topic that has always aroused the curiosity of believers and researchers: the holy relics, objects of incalculable spiritual and historical value, many of them missing over the centuries, supposedly kept in secret vaults and protected under lock and key by the Vatican. But the question that never goes away is, if these relics really exist, why have they never been exposed to the public? And even more intriguing, do some of these pieces have hidden powers that the Church fears to reveal? One of the greatest mysteries of Christian history is the holy chalice of the Last Supper, the very object used by Jesus Christ at supper with his disciples, where the Holy Eucharist was established. Many believe that this chalice, known as Holy Grail, contains divine power, capable of curing illnesses, granting wisdom, and even immortality to whoever possesses it. But the truth about his whereabouts has always been shrouded in shadows and contradictions. There are several theories about where the Holy Grail could be. Some legends say that he was taken by the Templars during the Crusades and hidden in an unknown location, Other stories claim that the Vatican keeps this relic in its secret archives, and that it had been found a long time ago. What makes this hypothesis seem real is that the Church has never officially denied the possibility of having the Holy Grail in its possession. If this relic were just a myth, why has the Vatican never made a definitive statement on the matter? In addition to the chalice, there are also reports of other sacred objects that are supposedly hidden inside the Vatican. Christ's crown of thorns, which would have been worn during his crucifixion, is one of the most controversial pieces. Officially, a part of this crown is in Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris, but many historians believe that the real object may be locked in a vault in the Vatican. The justification for this? Simple. If the true crown is exposed and scientifically proven, the impact on the Christian faith could be immense. And it doesn't stop there. The spear of destiny, the weapon that, according to tradition, pierced Jesus' side while he was on the cross, is also shrouded in mystery. There are at least 3 spears around the world that claim to be the real one, but there are theories that the authentic one was confiscated by the Vatican and kept secret. This artifact is said to contain supernatural power and that many leaders throughout history have tried to obtain it, believing that whoever possessed it would have dominion over the world. Napoleon Bonaparte, Adolf Hitler, and several emperors tried to find this relic, which only reinforces the theory that it was never destroyed, but rather hidden. Another sacred object that may be kept in the Vatican is the Shroud of Turin, the cloak that supposedly wrapped the body of Jesus after his death. The shroud contains a mark that many believe to be the actual image of Christ's face. Despite being on display in a cathedral in Italy, there are rumors that this may not be the original piece, and that the real one is under maximum protection within the Vatican's secret archives. But why hide an object so significant to the Christian faith? Is there something to be discovered in it that could shake the structure of the Church? And we cannot forget the relics associated with the saints, such as the bones of Peter, the first pope of the Catholic Church. Although the Vatican has announced that bones attributed to St. Peter have been found, some say that the apostle's real remains may be kept in an unknown tomb inside Vatican City. And what about religious statues and icons that, according to ancient records, had miraculous properties? There are reports of sacred images that cry blood, statues that heal the sick, and artifacts that inexplicably do not deteriorate over time. If these pieces really exist and have been tested, why doesn't the Church officially present them to the world? Rumors about sacred objects hidden inside the Vatican don't stop there. Some researchers believe that within the secret library, there may be texts that talk about objects of power from antiquity, including lost biblical artifacts, like the original tablets of the 10 Commandments, the real Ark of the Covenant, and even scrolls describing forgotten miracles. There are ancient records that talk about sacred items with supernatural properties, capable of directly interfering with the physical reality and spirituality of the faithful. But if these objects really exist, what would happen if they were revealed to the world? Many of these relics are mentioned in ancient texts, some of them mentioned in the Bible itself, and others were recorded by historians of the time, which reinforces the possibility of their existence. But there is a very curious detail. Whenever a researcher seems to get closer to the truth about these relics, his research is mysteriously interrupted. There are several cases of archaeologists, scholars, and theologians who claim to be close to discovering something great, but who, before revealing any information, were discredited or simply disappeared from the public scene. What makes it even more suspicious is that, if these objects are just legends or myths, why doesn't the Church simply deny them? The Vatican has enough resources to clear up any doubts about these relics, but instead it remains silent on the matter. Could the truth about these sacred artifacts have such an impact that it would change Christianity forever? Or is there something in them that goes beyond what we can understand? Now I want to know your opinion. Do you believe that has the holy chalice of the Last Supper really been found? And is it hidden inside the Vatican? Do you think the Church keeps these relics secret to protect the faith, or to hide something they don't want humanity to know? Comment below with the phrase, "I want to see the holy relics," to show that we are together in this search for answers. And remember, there is still much more to be revealed. Ever since 3 shepherd children in Fatima, Portugal, claimed to have received messages from the Virgin Mary in 1917, the Christian world has been shrouded in mystery and speculation about the content of these revelations. They were entrusted with 3 secrets, but one of them in particular became the most controversial of all: the third secret of Fatima. For decades, the Catholic Church kept this secret under extreme protection, claiming that its contents could cause panic and destabilize the faith. But the big question that many ask themselves today is, has the Vatican really revealed the whole truth, or is there still something being hidden from humanity? The first 2 secrets of Fatima were disclosed in the 20th century. The first dealt with a vision of hell, where sinful souls suffered unspeakable torments. The second spoke of Russia's conversion and the need for the world to turn to God to avoid global tragedies. But the third secret has always been shrouded in mystery. Lucia, the only one of the visionaries who lived for many years after the apparitions, gave the secret in writing to the Vatican, and it was immediately locked away in the Church's secret archives, accessible only to the Pope and a select group of cardinals. Why so much concern about this secret? What was it about it that the Church found so impactful, that it held on to it for decades before finally releasing it in 2000? The official version, published by the Vatican, describes a symbolic vision of persecution of the Church and a pope being killed by soldiers. However, many believe that this is not the complete version, or that there are crucial parts that have been omitted. Pope John Paul II himself, when asked about the contents of the third secret before its official release, said cryptically that if people knew what was in it, they wouldn't have the courage to leave their homes. What did he mean by that? Some researchers and religious people who had indirect contact with the original document claimed that the third secret of Fatima could contain revelations about the end of times, the coming of the Antichrist, and catastrophic events that could happen in the near future. Would there be prophecies in it that talk about the collapse of the Christian faith, spiritual crises, devastating wars, and even the destruction of the Vatican? Many of these theories were strengthened by priests and bishops, who suggested that the secret contained direct warnings about a great religious deception that would spread throughout the world, corrupting Christian doctrine and preparing the way for a false prophet. And that brings us to an even more intriguing topic. Did the Vatican already know about future events and hide them from humanity? If the third secret truly contains information about the apocalypse, why has the Church chosen to hide this knowledge from the public? Was it to avoid panic? Or would there be something even more serious, such as confirmation that certain biblical prophecies have already begun to be fulfilled? It is not just the third secret of Fatima that raises these suspicions. There are classified documents within the Vatican archives that supposedly speak about future events, catastrophic changes on Earth, and even the arrival of the Antichrist. The very concept of an evil being who would deceive humanity and present himself as a leader of peace before creating chaos is present in the Bible, especially in the book of Revelation. But what few know is that there are ancient records and writings that would have been suppressed by the Church because they contained information that could help identify this moment before it happened. The theory that the Vatican already has knowledge about these future events gains even more strength when we analyze statements from some of the Church's own leaders. Pope Benedict XVI, for example, even stated in an enigmatic way that the greatest threat to faith does not come from outside, but from within the Church itself. What did he mean by that? There are those who believe that he was referring to a great spiritual infiltration within Christianity, something that could be linked to the role of the Antichrist. Furthermore, in recent years, rumors about secret documents that speak of a period of tribulation for humanity have become increasingly intense. Some claim that the Vatican already has knowledge about major astronomical events that could impact the Earth, such as a celestial alignment that would be linked to the prophecies of Revelation. Others believe that the Church hides discoveries that prove the existence of spiritual forces at work in the world, but that this information cannot be made public because it could completely change our perception of reality. But perhaps the most shocking detail is the fact that many of these prophecies appear to be coming true before our eyes. The growth of global chaos, the loss of spiritual values, the increase in conflicts, and the apparent degradation of the Christian faith in many countries seem to coincide with what was described both in Revelation and in ancient texts that talk about the end times. If the Vatican really has these documents and knows what's coming, why doesn't it prepare its faithful for what could happen? The biggest question that remains is, does the Church keep these secrets because it believes humanity is not ready to know them, or because there is something even deeper and darker behind it? If there are records of the coming of the Antichrist, of an imminent spiritual collapse, and even of the second coming of Christ, shouldn't we have the right to know? Why would this knowledge be reserved for only a few within the walls of the Vatican? Now, I want to know your opinion. Do you believe that the third secret of Fatima has been completely revealed, or are there still parts hidden? Do you think the Vatican already knows about future events and has decided to hide this information from humanity? Comment below with the phrase, "I want to know the whole truth," to show that we are together in this search for knowledge. And remember, there is still much more to be revealed. Throughout history, the Catholic Church has been seen as an institution focused exclusively on spirituality and faith. But what few know is that the Vatican has a strong interest in astronomy and space sciences. The question that many ask themselves is, why? What would lead the largest religious institution in the world to invest so many resources in observing the cosmos? And most importantly, does the Vatican already know about the existence of extraterrestrial life and hide this information from humanity? Many believe so, and there are indications that the Church keeps highly confidential documents that prove contact with civilizations beyond Earth. Over the centuries, reports of unidentified flying objects, appearances of mysterious beings, and unexplained phenomena have been recorded not only by ordinary people, but also by priests, monks, and even the highest echelons of the Church. The issue of extraterrestrial life has always been treated with extreme caution within the Vatican, but some statements made by important members of the Church raise suspicions that they know much more than they reveal to the public. One of the first religious people to speak openly about the possibility of extraterrestrial civilizations was the priest José Gabriel Funes, former director of the Vatican Observatory. In an official interview, he declared that the existence of life outside Earth does not contradict the Christian faith, and that, if there are other intelligent beings in the universe, they could also be children of God. This statement shocked many people at the time, as it went against the idea that man was the only divine creation endowed with intelligence. But what really caught our attention was the fact that such an important member of the Church approached the subject in such a natural way, as if this possibility was already something known within the Vatican. Another priest who made controversial statements on this topic was Monge Beneditino Gui Consolmagno, one of the Vatican's astronomers. He stated that, if contact with extraterrestrial beings occurs, the Church should be ready to batizalos, that is, recognizing them as part of divine creation. But what led a Vatican-linked scientist to seriously consider this possibility? Is this not just speculation, but rather a preparation for a truth that the Church already knows? And this brings us to one of the most intriguing mysteries linked to the Vatican, the Lucifer telescope. Despite its controversial name, this telescope actually exists and is located on Mount Graham in Arizona as part of an astronomical project in which the Vatican has been involved for decades. But what makes this story so disturbing is the fact that this telescope is one of the most advanced in the world in deep space observation and is directly involved in the search for exoplanets and signs of life beyond Earth. Why would the Catholic Church invest so much money and technology to monitor the cosmos? Are they just studying the stars, or are they looking for something they already know is there? Some researchers believe that the Vatican may have received privileged information about the existence of extraterrestrial life, and that the Lucifer telescope was just a tool to monitor these beings and study their activities. There are reports that within the Vatican's secret archives there are ancient documents that mention celestial beings that don't fit into the traditional narrative of angels and demons. Some of these texts, supposedly written by medieval monks and theologians, describe encounters with mysterious entities who descended from the heavens in flaming chariots and possessed advanced knowledge about astronomy and the nature of the universe. What are these texts really describing? Were they just metaphors or ancient records of encounters with extraterrestrial beings? Another curious detail is that, In several passages of the Bible, there are descriptions of events that, when analyzed from a modern perspective, can look a lot like UFO encounters. The prophet Ezekiel, for example, described a vision where a fire chariot descended from the sky, surrounded by bright lights and beings that seemed to have strange shapes. Could this be a record of something that the Church has already interpreted differently to hide its true origin? If the Vatican always knew about the existence of other civilizations, why did you never reveal this to the public? Some theories suggest that the Church fears the impact this information could have on people's faith. The revelation that we are not alone in the universe could deeply shake religious structures, as it could mean that God created not only humans, but also other forms of intelligent life. This would completely change the way we understand our position in divine creation. What if there are secret documents that already confirm this reality? Some sources claim that, within the Vatican archives, there are detailed records of contacts with extraterrestrial beings that have occurred over the centuries. These contacts would have been hidden from the public for fear that the truth would cause a collapse in world faith. Pope John XXIII himself, according to rumors, had a direct experience with a being from another planet within the Vatican itself. He allegedly described the entity as a being of light who brought a warning message to humanity. But this story was quickly hushed up by the Church. But what really scares is that there are signs that this truth may be closer to being revealed. The increase in UFO sightings around the world, recently declassified, military documents and even government statements suggesting that something is being investigated by major world powers reinforce the theory that the Church knows what is happening but is waiting for the right moment to speak out. After all, if this information were passed on directly by the Vatican, it would be an unprecedented shock. The biggest question that remains is, if the Vatican has always known about the existence of other civilizations, why does it keep it a secret? What is in these classified documents that have not yet been revealed? Was it a plan to gradually prepare humanity for this truth? Or is the Vatican hiding something much bigger about the real role of these beings in the history of humanity? Now I want to know your opinion. Do you believe that the Vatican already knows about the existence of extraterrestrial life and is hiding this information? What do you think the Lucifer telescope is actually monitoring? Comment below with the phrase, "The truth is out there," to show that we are together in this search for knowledge. Over the centuries, the Vatican has been the center of Christianity and the highest authority for the Catholic faith, but also a place shrouded in secrets, scandals, and conspiracies. Many believe that, in addition to preserving religious doctrine, the Church also guards compromising information that, if it came to light, could undermine its credibility and the very foundation of Christianity. Hidden documents, reports of persecution, and a long history of silencing voices that tried to reveal the truth make up one of the greatest mysteries surrounding this institution. Cases of corruption within the Church are nothing new. Since medieval times, there have been records of manipulation, political conspiracies, and suspicious financial transactions. One of the most emblematic examples was the practice of selling indulgences, where believers were encouraged to pay large sums of money so that their sins would be forgiven by the Church. This scheme became so profitable that it helped finance some of the Church's greatest works, including St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican. But what did this really mean? Can divine forgiveness be purchased? Or was this just another way to maintain control over the faithful and enrich the leadership of the Church? Another obscure episode involves the Vatican Bank, an institution that, officially, should only be used to manage Church resources, but which, in practice, has already been involved in money laundering schemes, financing secret groups, and even mysterious murders. The most famous case occurred in the 1980s, when banker Roberto Calvi, known as God's banker, was found hanged under Blackfriars Bridge in London. His death was officially treated as a suicide, but many believe he was silenced because he knew too much about illicit financial operations involving the Vatican. And if all this wasn't shocking enough, there are also reports of documents that were destroyed or kept secret to protect the Church's image. There are records of ancient texts that contradict official Christian teachings, apocryphal gospels that were removed from the Bible, and manuscripts that could reveal disturbing information about the life of Jesus and the early years of the Church. The Vatican has always denied any attempt to hide information, but if there is nothing to hide, why keep these documents locked in secret archives, accessible only to a select group of cardinals? Much of this information has been investigated by scholars and historians over the years, but whenever someone seems on the verge of unraveling a big mystery, something strange happens. Several researchers who tried to expose Vatican secrets were silenced, had their careers destroyed, or simply disappeared without explanation. One of the most controversial cases was that of the Jesuit priest Malachi Martin, a former Vatican insider who publicly stated that there was an infiltrated group within the church that manipulated information and hid compromising documents. He wrote several books denouncing these conspiracies, and even stated that there was an internal struggle within the Vatican between forces that wanted to reveal the truth and those who were willing to do anything to prevent these secrets from being discovered. Shortly afterwards, he died under mysterious circumstances, and to this day, there are theories that his death was not accidental. Another enigmatic case is that of archaeologist Alfredo Ottaviani, which claimed to have found records showing that certain biblical texts had been deliberately altered over the centuries to fit the church's official narrative. Shortly before publishing his findings, he was removed from his research, discredited, and disappeared from public life. Was what he found so dangerous as to justify his silencing? And the reports of persecution don't stop there. During the Inquisition, thousands of people were killed under accusations of heresy, often just for questioning the dogmas of the church or for possessing knowledge that went against what was officially taught. Some of these heretics were scholars who had access to rare documents, alchemists who sought forbidden knowledge, and religious people who dared to challenge the authority of the church. How many of these executions were done to eliminate people who were about to reveal something that should not be known to the public? More recently, leaked documents indicate that the church also tried to hide information about cases of abuse committed by members of the clergy. For decades, accusations were systematically ignored, evidence was destroyed, and victims were silenced to avoid scandals that could undermine the institution's image. And whenever new allegations surfaced, those responsible for exposing these cases were attacked, discredited, and often persecuted until they remained silent. But what really stands out is that history seems to repeat itself. Every time someone tries to bring to light documents, forbidden gospels, or secrets about the Vatican, that person suffers retaliation. Why does the church try so hard to keep this information hidden? Could the truth, if revealed, weaken his authority over billions of believers? What is clear is that there is much more being hidden than most people realize. If the church were just a religious institution, its purpose should be seek and share the truth, and not hide it. But over the centuries, every time something threatened its structure, the response was always the same: silence, persecution, and destruction of evidence. What else could be hidden inside the Vatican's secret archives? How many truths are still being suppressed? If all this came to light, if all the Vatican's secret documents were revealed to the public, the impact would be catastrophic. We are not just talking about a change in the way faith is practiced, but rather a complete collapse in the structure of the church as we know it today. Imagine for a moment that the information hidden within the secret archives contains irrefutable proof that certain historical events have been altered, that teachings have been manipulated, and that the truth about Christianity is not exactly as we were taught. How would people react to discovering that some of what they have always believed may have been carefully controlled and edited over the centuries? The faith of millions of believers would be shaken, as a revelation of this level would not only call into question the church, but the entire basis of Christianity. Trust in Scripture, religious traditions, and even the authority of the Pope could crumble in ways never seen before. Would this be the end of the Vatican's influence over the world? If the institution that for centuries maintained its power based on people's faith was exposed as the guardian of hidden secrets, how would people deal with it? Does the church fear losing power? Undoubtedly. One cannot ignore the fact that throughout history, the Vatican has always had a political role far beyond a religious one, controlling information, influencing governments, participating in geopolitical decisions, and even handling global events. The Church has consolidated itself not only as an institution of faith, but as one of the most powerful centers on the planet. This is why critical documents remain locked. Because if the truth were revealed, the control that the Church exercises over its faithful, and even over world leaders, could collapse in a matter of days. And if there really is nothing to hide, why keep these files inaccessible? Why historical documents about Christianity need 85 kilometers of underground shelves, kept under close surveillance? Why do a select group of cardinals have access to this information, while the rest of humanity does not? What could there be in these texts that justifies so much secrecy, so much fear, and so much effort to prevent them from being known? Now that we've uncovered some of the Vatican's darkest secrets, it's clear that there is much more hidden than we can imagine. The amount of information kept confidential, documents under lock and key, and reports of persecution against those who tried to reveal the truth only reinforce the idea that the Church is hiding something that could forever change the course of Christian history. But the burning question is, which of these revelations surprised you the most? Was it the fact that Gospels were removed from the Bible, or the possibility that the Vatican already knew about the existence of extraterrestrial civilizations? Perhaps the reports about sacred relics kept secret are what caught your attention the most. And the most disturbing thing is knowing that these mysteries are just the tip of the iceberg. If documents that could change our perception of faith and the world remain under lock and key, what else could be hidden in the basements of the Vatican? Are there prophecies that have not yet been revealed? Could there be secret texts that explain biblical events in a completely different way? Or perhaps the Church has evidence that history has been manipulated over the centuries to serve political and religious interests. The answers may be closer than we imagine. The Vatican has always exercised strict control over knowledge, filtering what could or could not be accessed by the faithful. But the truth has uncontrollable power, and no matter how hard they try to hide it, there
are always those who defy the rules and seek to reveal what has been censored. What if I told you that there was a forbidden book that could change everything we know about Jesus? A text that, if confirmed, could completely rewrite the narrative about your life, your mission, and your true identity. If the revelations we have brought so far have already been shocking, wait until you discover the contents of this forbidden manuscript. In the next video, we will explore one of the greatest
mysteries of the Christian faith, a document that may contain secrets that the Church never wanted you to know. I know you got here. It wasn't by chance. Perhaps God has touched your heart through these revelations, awakening you to a truth that needs to be known. If you felt God's voice in this video, subscribe to the channel right now and turn on notifications, because together we will continue this journey in search of hidden knowledge that can transform your view of faith and history. I know you watched until the end. Leave your like now so that this message reaches more people, and share this video with someone who needs to know these truths. In the comments, I want you to write, "I want the full truth," to show that we are together in this search for answers. And don't stop here. The next video is already appearing on your screen, and in it you will discover a banned book that could change everything we know about Jesus. Click now and continue this investigation, because what we reveal may be even more surprising.